Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Jai.
Haribol, welcome everyone and thank you Radha Priya Mataji and Shaman for hosting this program at their place. Thank you for everyone for coming and also devotees who are coming from the East Coast. Thanks a lot, Haribol. So I would just like to speak a little bit about Kalakantha Prabhu, those of you who may not know about him. So Kalakantha Prabhu is a senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He joined in 1972, so he's been practicing Bhakti for about 50 years. He has served as various roles in ISKCON. He has been temple president, Back to Godhead editor, and magazine editor, and also secretary to ISKCON policy. He's a Grihastha, so this is a great example for us how to be engaged in Krishna consciousness while being in Grihastha ashram. And he's also a well-known author and poet. He's written many books like God Who Dances. We'll be hearing something from the book today. And The Saint Within, and Gita, the Song of the One. Many books he's written. And he's also written The Wrath of God. Yeah, that was the last one that Kalakantha Prabhu in the LA temple as well. So he's a well-known poet and author. And his main contribution he has many important contributions. The main contribution that I can see is the Krishna House that he has worked on. He took charge of Krishna House in Gainesville, Florida in 2006, right? Yeah. And so Krishna House is also responsible for a Krishna Orange program there. So when Kalakantha Prabhu came, he was able to organize the Krishna Orange program that has been going on since 1971. So also about like 50 years, more than 50 years. So he was able to increase the number of plates, the prasadam distribution there. So like the usual number every day sold is like 1,000 plates or even more prasadam, and that's to American students who are studying at the university. And the main contribution of his Krishna House has been as a preaching center, and it's a good model. Like a lot of students, American local people who come and get attracted to Krishna consciousness and they practice bhakti in Krishna House. So it's a very good model, an example for the rest of USA how to reach out to the Western folks, like Americans who are how to reach to them. And so he's also now making efforts to spread this Krishna House model everywhere around. So a few examples are currently where it's working right now is like Houston, Michigan, and Toronto.
Yes.
New York also, okay. It's now booming. Philadelphia as well, okay.
It's coming up.
I just know a few of them. So, thank you very much.
One of our house graduates is Sri Radha Prabhu, and we're very happy to. And Nitya is presently trying to graduate. We're not sure if he's going to pass. So it's Janmashtami coming up, and I understand Shamanan Prabhu, you wanted to speak something about a little prelude for Janmashtami next Thursday. So first of all, just a bit about this great movement and Srila Prabhupada's contribution. It is, goes on and on in spite of many challenges all over the world. Nothing like this has ever really happened before, where the tremendous, beautiful culture of India has been adopted and practiced in various parts of the world. So our Krishna House experience shows that Krishna consciousness really is relevant for everyone. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhukabunoi. Shravanade Sude Chite Karya Udoy. It's love of Krishna is dormant in every heart. Every heart. Everyone you see at Walmart, everyone you see on the freeway, everyone you see in your neighborhood, they're all part and parcel of Krishna, but they are trying to forget it. And because Krishna is very neutral, if we want to forget Krishna, Krishna will forget us. He won't impose. But if we turn to Krishna just a little bit, the big hole in the heart of the materialist becomes full. And I experienced that when I was 18, and it has never left me in all these years. This is the gift that Srila Prabhupada brought. It's not another religion, it's not a Hindu cultural movement, it is the inherent spiritual urge. Krishna consciousness allows the inherent spiritual urge of everyone to be fulfilled, regardless of where they're coming from. So that great gift of Krishna consciousness is ours to enjoy and share by Srila Prabhupada's grace. Before he came, there wasn't a single devotee of Krishna in the entire North American continent. Can you imagine? And he created his own association. And that is our challenge also, to practice and to share Krishna consciousness and bring that revival of dormant love of God in every heart to as many people as possible. So we do that just by coming together like this, by associating, and by taking every opportunity that comes to share Krishna consciousness with people. So in preparation for Janmashtami, as Krishna appeared in this dark material world, so he appears in our dark material hearts. And on Janmashtami we celebrate that appearance. As Arjuna Prabhu mentioned, I like to put the Shastras into poetry to try to make them more relevant and appreciable for the English-speaking audience. So this is from the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. Each shloka, I've gone through and done all of the shlokas in poetry. And so we'll read these sections from the birth of Lord Krishna, from the 10th canto, first chapter. Just to give the background, of course, the earth was terribly burdened by the weight of excessive military force. And feeling this terrible burden, she appealed to the demigods, please help. The gods went to Lord Brahma, what should we do? Lord Brahma took them all to Lord Vishnu, what should we do? Lord Vishnu said, don't worry, Krishna will be coming. And you go and now take birth in the Yadu dynasty, all of you, to help Krishna when he comes. So this is the background. So we pick up the pastime here with the story of Vasudeva and Devaki and Kamsa. In honor of her marriage, Kamsa, son of Ugrasen, took up his sister Devaki's fine chariot and reins. With Vasudeva, her husband, at her side, the royal maid prepared to ride with Kamsa in her wedding day parade. Her dowry featured elephants with garlands made of gold. 400 soldiers riding golden chariots patrolled. 200 lovely bridesmaids, 15,000 jeweled steeds. With pride, all tried to please the bride and satisfy her needs. Sweet music filled the air as Kamsa drove the bride and groom. Then suddenly, an unembodied voice proclaimed his doom. You foolish Kamsa, though today you serve this man and wife, the 8th child born to Devaki will one day take your life. The wicked Kamsa turned to Devaki with shock and dread. His sword in hand, he snatched her hair and roared, off with her head. The tactful Vasudeva saw this, and holding Kamsa's arm, addressed his angry in-law without showing his alarm. You are your family's pride, dear Kamsa. Heroes sing your praise. How could someone as great as you behave in such a way? To kill a girl, indeed your sister, on her wedding day will surely stain your reputation. What will people say? Now think this through, great hero. From the moment of your birth, your body inexorably returns back into earth. By one means or another, be it now or decades hence, your death is surely coming. It is simply common sense. And when your body turns to dust, your soul again acquires another earthly body formed to suit your own desires. As when you walk, you shift your weight from back foot to the fore, you'll change your body after death and leave the one before. As one asleep is certain that the life he dreams is real, the soul believes in everything his body does and feels. The fleeting, artificial body keeps the soul engaged while making him forget that he is living in a cage. As wind distorts reflections on the moon upon a lake, illusion makes the spirit think, I'm flesh, a big mistake. Since sinful actions cause the soul to stay in this condition, why not consider carefully and then make your decision? Your younger sister Devaki is like your very child. She so deserves your loving shelter. Please be reconciled, for you are very merciful. Do not cut off her head, but give her love and treat her as a father would instead. So here is Vasudeva trying a philosophical approach. Kamsa, you know, if you kill your sister like this, you're going to have a very bad reputation. And this voice says you're going to die, but you're going to die anyway. So why not be conscious of yourself as a spirit and stop thinking of this body only? So Kamsa naturally could not hear anything he said. Because of his demonic nature, Kamsa felt disdain about the tax for sinful acts that Vasudeva explained. As Vasudeva saw Kamsa pulling back his sister's head, he came up with another plan. Within himself, he said, when circumstances threaten one's existence or one's wife, one must use any method to avoid the loss of life. Perhaps he will die first. So if I promise now to give my future sons to Kamsa, at least Devaki can live. The anxious Vasudeva knew well what panic would invoke, so with respect he smiled at Kamsa, cleared his throat and spoke, Great soul, why are you frightened by an unembodied voice? Your sister will not harm you, just perhaps her future boys. You have my word, dear brother. When your sister bears our sons, I promise to bring each to you to do what must be done. Although he was atrocious, when he heard these gentle words, cruel Kamsa put his sword away, completely reassured. He fully trusted Vasudeva, whose character was such that Kamsa knew he'd keep his word, although he'd pledged so much. When Devaki was freed by Kamsa, in due time she bore a shining baby boy whom any parent would adore. Her husband took the boy away, for though he loved his son, he would not lie to Kamsa, nor indeed to anyone. Now, once in a while in the narration of these pastimes, Shukadeva Goswami gives a little commentary. Just has to express himself, so this is one of these occasions. What pain is there for saintly souls devoted to the truth? What evil is off limits for the low and the uncouth? And what cannot be given up in service to the Lord by those who want to please Him and desire nothing more? When Kamsa saw that Vasudeva had brought the newborn child exactly as he promised, he examined him and smiled. Take back your son, dear Vasudeva, said Kamsa with good cheer. The omen said, your 8th child is the one that I must fear. Returning with the baby boy, wise Vasudeva perceived that Kamsa was impulsive and could never be believed. Now at that time, Saint Narada, the ever-roaming sage, decided to speed Krishna's birth by prompting Kamsa's rage. So this is such a strange part of the story, isn't it? Here is Narada Muni, the great sadhu, coming to spoil the whole situation. Why would he do that?
So Krishna comes early.
Yes, as soon as possible. Said Narada to Kamsa, Sir, have you been made aware the gods are here as yadus and surround you everywhere? Their presence in your neighborhood should lead you to assess that Vishnu will be coming soon to ease the earth's distress. The words of Narada left Kamsa thoroughly provoked and made him tremble angrily. Again, the mystic spoke. In your last life, you also practiced wickedness and sin. Lord Vishnu killed you then, and now, it seems, he will again. As Narada departed, Kamsa fumed and set his mind. Just see, he thought, what happens when a man tries to be kind. He killed Devaki's baby, and along with Ugrasen, put her and Vasudeva in jail and hailed his new domain. So just like that, he imprisoned his sister and her husband. He imprisoned his own father, who was the king, and proclaimed himself the new king. It was a coup based on a big lie. So, here are Vasudeva and Devaki. They had this moment of respite where they thought, we're going to be able to keep our baby boy. But then Kamsa killed the boy and put them in jail. So now they were hopeless, helpless. Vasudeva and Devaki could see their only hope would come as the 8th child foretold in Kamsa's horoscope. Thus suffering in prison after Kamsa killed their boy, each year they bore another child for Kamsa to destroy. What crime, again another purport by Sukadeva Goswami, what crime is too outrageous for a person who intends to please his flesh while caring less for family and friends? He'll even kill to have a thrill or fill a selfish whim. King Kamsa ruled with terror, and the people bowed to him. As Kamsa gathered power, he was nearly unopposed, for many other demons helped him terrorize his foes. He killed 6 sons of Devaki. The Yadus fled in fear, except for some who stayed and prayed for Krishna to appear. Her 7th pregnancy brought Devaki both joy and gloom. She didn't know the Lord's expansion lived within her womb. Lord Krishna, elsewhere, summoned Yogamaya to request that she protect his devotee through these clandestine steps. And this becomes very complicated. Why does Krishna make it so complicated? Any idea? Why so difficult? Listen to this plot. Krishna says, my brother Balaram, he's talking to Yogamaya, his illusory potency. My brother Balaram waits in the womb of Devaki, but he will leave as soon as it has been prepared for me. Take Balaram to Rohini, co-wife of Devaki. King Nanda guards her during Vasudeva's captivity. So Kamsa's other wife, Rohini, lived across the river in Gokul with Nanda under his protection. So this Balaram has appeared in the womb of Devaki to prepare it for Krishna's appearance. This is Balaram's role, always to deal with the things that Krishna doesn't want to deal with. And so then he goes on. King Nanda rules Gokula, that enchanting rural land. Now enter Yashoda, his wife, and execute this plan. Reside within Queen Yashoda throughout her pregnancy. When Balaram has left, I'll fill the womb of Devaki. First, Balaram will take his birth and be Rohini's son. His charm and strength shall be unmatched, delighting everyone. When Yashoda delivers you, then I shall join the act, the 8th born son of Devaki, my opulence intact. So first Balaram is to enter Devaki's womb, then Yogamaya is to transfer him to Rohini's womb, and she's to enter the womb of Yashoda. Very complicated. Oh, Yogamaya, go now and accomplish all these tasks. I bless you to bewilder all and finish what I've asked. Henceforward, using sacrifice and all that it requires, some people will entreat you to fulfill their sense desires. So Krishna gives Yogamaya this boon, that you will now be worshipped. If you just do what I ask, you will be worshipped by all materialists. Obediently, Yogamaya bowed before her Lord and left for Sri Gokula. Soon, exactly in accord with Krishna's order, Balaram departed Devaki and entered his new home within the womb of Rohini. When Devaki miscarried Balaram, the people said, since Kamsa kills her children, she aborted it instead. At that time, Krishna, God himself, who vanquishes all fear, went in the mind of Vasudeva and readied to appear. While bearing Krishna, Vasudeva appeared just like the sun, his glow so bright the shining light astonished everyone. When he placed Krishna in the mind of Devaki one day, her visage bloomed, a waxing moon on opulent display. To bear the Lord while trapped in jail by Kamsa's wicked plot made Devaki seem like a fire kept within a pot, or like a man enlightened, wise, and thoroughly refined who fails to share his wisdom for the good of humankind. As Devaki grew jubilant, King Kamsa grew concerned. This Vishnu killed me once, he thought, and now he has returned to kill me once again. Yet killing Devaki today will only bring me trouble in a different sort of way. To kill a pregnant relative would cost me all respect. My opulence would vanish and my subjects would defect. My health and life and legacy would all die out as well. A wicked man is just a corpse descending into hell. Deliberating in this way, King Kamsa chose to wait to let the child be born and then administer its fate. While on his throne or in his bed, King Kamsa stayed absorbed in thoughts about his enemy, the all-pervading Lord. So at this point, the demigods come and pray to Krishna in the womb of Devaki. Once Srila Prabhupada was in New Vrindavan in 1972 for Janmashtami, and he was reading these pastimes from Krishna, or having them read. The devotees had been fasting all day, and Prabhupada wanted to read this section from the Krishna book, and it was coming on midnight. And so he had a disciple read, and he was listening very blissfully, and the devotees were getting drowsy. And then it came to the end of the first chapter, and everyone said, Jai Srila Prabhupada. And he said, go on. So then they read this chapter about the birth, about the prayers of the demigods, a rather philosophical chapter. And some of the sannyasi dandas in the front row kept kind of... And then they came to the end of the chapter and everyone said, Jai Srila Prabhupada. He said, next chapter. So then they read the third chapter. It was after midnight. Devotees were very hungry. Prabhupada was listening, very blissful. And then at the end of the chapter, Jai Srila Prabhupada. And then he looked around and said, oh, you were tired? All right, take prasad. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So this is the, as they say about life in Krishna consciousness, the pay is lousy, but the fringe benefits are out of this world. That the benefit we gain from practicing Krishna consciousness is a taste for hearing about Krishna. Bodhayantas parasparam katayatas chamam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So we'll just read one more chapter, and then we'll take prasad. This is a very interesting chapter because in the Bhagavatam, in the Sanskrit, the meters change, and sometimes they change according to who is speaking. So in this chapter, there's a variety of meters according to the different personalities. So here's the birth of Lord Krishna. One pleasant evening, earth seemed bathed in happiness and love. The sacred constellation Rohini appeared above with other stars and planets twinkling in the cloudless sky. The universe itself seemed pleasing, still, and satisfied. The moonlit Mother Earth displayed her pastures, mines, and towns. In fragrant trees, the birds and bees sang out their pleasing sounds. The rivers poured clear water into reservoirs and lakes, where lotuses and lilies bloomed, appearing wide awake. The Brahmins rose before the dawn, took bath, and set alight their sacrificial fires in accord with Vedic rites. Across the lakes and pastures, silky, fragrant breezes came. They pleased the Brahmins tending fires, but didn't spoil the flames. So poetic, huh? All these are just the analogies from the Bhagavatam. The breezes came just enough to make the Brahmins refresh but not to disturb their fires. The Brahmins, who had suffered much from Kamsa and his men, began to feel tranquility pervade their hearts again. The higher worlds resounded with the sounds of kettle drums as gods peered down at earth, expecting Krishna soon would come. While gods threw flowers, danced and sang in heavenly enclaves, assembling clouds made thundering sounds like gentle ocean waves. Then Vishnu, he who dwells within the hearts of you and me, appeared as if a full moon from the heart of Devaki. In his 4 hands the child held lotus, chakra, conch, and club. His bangled arms and jeweled ears and helmet placed above his scattered hair set off his yellow silks and blue-black skin. And there around his neck was hung the famed Kaustuba gem. As Vasudeva beheld the child, he thought his eyes had failed. How could the Lord, so nicely dressed, be born inside a jail? The father could not celebrate, as he was much inclined, so he gave out 10,000 cows within his joyous mind. On seeing how this child's effulgence lit the dismal cell, the awestruck Vasudeva felt peace, his worries all dispelled. He joined his palms and bowed his head, and then, though it seemed strange, began with wife and newborn son the following exchange. So here is Vasudeva speaking like he's speaking to a little baby. He's primeval, transcendent, ubiquitous Lord, I see your position as never before. You made the creation, and yet as its God, you're here as our son by your own sweet facade. Your powers create everything that we see, yet they are distinct and complete potencies. You too are distinct from this world you have made, yet my confused eyes see you clearly today. My Lord, you're adored in the finest of rooms. Why come in a jail through a prisoner's womb? O Master of all, I can safely presume, since you have arrived, cruel Kamsa is doomed. So Devaki then picks up the song. Dear Almighty Lord, now at last you have come, within the creation as bright as the sun. The Vedas exalt you and all you arrange, no one can divorce you or force you to change. The common man longs for the heavenly skies and freedom from illness, old age, and demise. But when you appear, death itself runs away, and we all feel peaceful, no longer afraid. As Kamsa still persecutes good people, please defeat all the fears of sincere devotees, and cover this form, much adored by the wise, from envious, evil, material eyes. She's anxious for her son. Your 4-handed form doesn't fit in this world. I should have a 2-handed boy or a girl. No one will think Vishnu could come from my womb. Please change and I'll hide you. The guards will come soon. So here are these various strange, confused feelings going through their minds. On the one hand, she's exalting God, but she's saying, but I'm afraid somebody's going to hurt you. So then little baby Krishna speaks in even a simpler meter, like a little baby, just saying his first words soon after being born. My dear mother, now please be blessed. Among chaste women you are the best. Let me now put your mind at rest. Let your heart fill with happiness. Long ago in a former life, you were still Vasudeva's wife. Though Brahma said to procreate, you first sat down to meditate. Both of you sat through heat and cold, hearts made perfect by self-control. I was pleased, so I asked you to say what you wanted me to do. All you wanted, you said humbly, was the boon of a son like me. Twice I came as your son back then. Here today I have come again. Had I come as a normal boy, would your faith have been unalloyed? Still I'm yours, and since you love me, when you die you will come to me. So he's saying, I had to appear as Vishnu, otherwise you wouldn't believe. Lord Vishnu then fell silent, and before his parents' eyes, his figure changed from Vishnu to a child of normal size. Reclining in his legendary transcendental form, he showed himself as baby Krishna, smiling, bright and warm. Then Yogamaya took her birth, just as Lord Krishna planned, across the river Jamuna in Nanda's rural land. When Yashoda, King Nanda's wife, gave birth that mystic night, exhausted from her labor, she slept on, her eyes shut tight. By Yogamaya's influence, the guards in Kamsa's jail, not hearing sounds of childbirth, not a whimper, sob, or wail, fell fast asleep as well, and could not see or hear a sound. At this, the gates swung open, and their locks fell to the ground. When thundering clouds let out their rain as gently as they could, a mystic serpent sheltered man and son with many hoods. As Vasudev, the huge white snake, and babe of blackish blue snuck quickly past the sleeping guards, King Kamsa slept on too. The swirling river Jamuna, made deeper by the showers, came to a halt and made a path by Yogamaya's powers. The river welcomed Vasudev, lest Krishna should be lost, just as the Indian Ocean once allowed Lord Ram to cross. When Vasudev reached Nanda's house, where everybody slept, he found the room of Yashoda and pondered his next step. In hopes that even Kamsa would not kill a newborn daughter, he switched the babes and ran at once back through the swirling waters. Back past the sleeping guards he slipped, through every open door. He chained himself and Devaki in shackles as before. He placed the girl by Devaki, who looked at her and smiled, while Yashoda, asleep, knew not the gender of her child. So very complicated birth. Why would Krishna make it so difficult? Srila Prabhupada had two disciples, Shyamasundar and Malati, who had just taken up Krishna consciousness in San Francisco in 1967. So prior to their becoming devotees, they had been arrested for selling marijuana, and which was their means of livelihood. They'd been arrested and convicted, and so they were awaiting their jail sentence. So after they had done some service for a while, they came to Prabhupada and said, "Prabhupada, I'm afraid we have to go to jail." And Prabhupada said, "Oh, why?" So, selling drugs, Prabhupada. He said, "Oh, I used to sell drugs." He was a pharmacist in India. And he said, that's all right. Krishna was born in jail. So they were supposed to have several year sentence, 2 or 3 years, and then mysteriously after 1 month they came and said, "All right, you can go." So anyway, for some reason, why do you think Krishna? Any ideas why Krishna comes in with such an elaborate backdrop?
Well, I guess it's because there's so many devotees and associates of Krishna that he wants to please every one of them.
Uh-huh.
And he wants every one of them to feel comfortable in their particular duty, like Balaram clearing, preparing everything. So I think that's the reason.
That's a good point. Engaging everybody, but why so complicated? Couldn't he engage everybody in a simple way?
I just kind of thought that if we wouldn't have fascinating story, maybe our minds wouldn't be attracted or enchanted by it. Nice thought.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a very good point. Also, most people don't want to be burdened with having to think about God. And so if God were to appear in a spectacular way, then people would have to confront that burden. Oh, now I have to believe in him. So when he appears in an inconspicuous way like this in a jail cell, people think of just another ordinary karmic birth. So in this way, Prabhupada said that only a handful of people actually knew that Krishna was God, even when he was present on this earth. So yes, he keeps his identity secret, like let's say witness protection program. So.
Is this a way to test people?
But he glorifies his devotees by putting them in difficulty and showing how they do not deviate in spite of the difficulties. All these things. All right, any other thoughts, comments?
I was thinking. So when Kamsa came to know that the child that he was holding was Maya Devi, Yoga Maya, and Yoga Maya told him that whoever's destined to kill you has already taken birth in Gokul. So didn't he think how come how did the boy go to Gokul? Did he confront Vasudev and beat him up?
Excuse me, no, he had a brief change of heart at that time by the influence of Yoga Maya and her 8 arms and weapons. Oh, he was going to kill her just like he had killed the others, but she escaped and showed her power, and then he, all of a sudden, he, as they say, got religion. And he apologized. Oh, Devaki and Vasudeva, I treated you so badly. Please forgive me. And please, you're free to go. I'm very, very sorry. And then he kind of tried to console them with some Atma Tattva. These demons know the philosophy, they just don't want to accept it. He says, you know, we suffer by our destiny and karma. And your children were killed just because of some fate. And Devaki and Vasudeva were saying, yes, yes, yes. So then they left, but Vasudeva knew that this would not last. So he did not raise this question because he was intimidated by Yogamaya. But the next day, he met with all of his demoniac ministers and told them what Yogamaya had said, that the person who will kill you is already born somewhere else. So the ministers convinced him, no, you can't tolerate this. You have to kill all children who have been born in the last so many days. And they were very happy, only too happy to help. So in this way, Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Taduskritam, all the demons came together to help Kamsa, and then Krishna could begin his mission of eliminating the burden of the earth. All right, any other reflections?
Question, Prabhu. 6 opulence, and many of them we can understand, like the ever-increasing beauty, the power, the strength. But how do we understand renunciation? It's like, if he renounces it, then who accepts it? Usually, like Prabhupada said, if somebody stands in front of a bank and saying, I renounce it, that's foolish. But the Lord is the source of all. So what does it mean that He is the unlimited, ever-increasing renunciation?
He explains this in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Pashyame Yogam Aishwaryam. Although I create this whole material creation, my very self is its source, still I am aloof from it. I'm not affected by it. When everything in creation is subtracted from Krishna, Krishna is still intact. Therefore, He's not attached. Like, we become attached to things because we sacrifice something to get them. We sacrifice our independence to get married. We sacrifice our money to buy a car. We sacrifice our life to raise a child. So much. So then we become attached because we're invested. But for Krishna, there's no investment. It is an incidental expression of His creation, of His opulence. And renunciation is an opulence because when one is detached, one can be peaceful. If one is attached, then one can never find peace. So Krishna is Atmarama? He's self-satisfied. And He does not require His creation to make Him happy. He's not attached to it. And He also explains that it would not even exist were it not for the conditioned souls who desire it. Aparayam tvanyam prakriti nevari jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam karyate jagat. Yes, that it is the jivas who occupy this material energy. It's not from me. So in these ways He's renounced. He's in the forest with the gopis, and they begin feeling proud, and he's gone. He's so enwrapped in loving relationships with everyone in Vrindavan, but when Akrura comes, he's gone. So Krishna is never bound by anything except the love of his devotees. That love he cannot renounce. And that is his heart and soul. I'm in the heart of my devotees, and my devotees are my heart.
So the renunciation, can one say that the renunciation has no role in the spiritual realm? Because it seems like it contradicts.
No, renunciation is a byproduct of devotion. When we are satisfied with our devotion, then we're no longer dependent on the things of this world. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jana Yat Yasru Vairagyam Jnanam Chayana Haitakam. Causeless renunciation comes because there's a higher enjoyment. So, yes, people sometimes put a great emphasis on renunciation, like our friend Bhaktishan in Gainesville. He's a very detached young man who's living out in the forest in the woods. I'm detached from everything. But he struggles to relate with people properly. So he can renounce the things of this world, but he can't renounce his ego and relationships. Or he's working on it. But the point is that just renouncing in and of itself makes one very hard-hearted and proud. So Krishna is not like that. He is neither hard-hearted nor proud. He is simply enjoying loving relationships with those who want to love him. So, and he's occupied with better things. Right? Vishaya venivartante niraharasya dehina rasovarjam rasopyasya param drishva nivartante. The loving relationships he enjoys are a higher pleasure for him. And therefore renunciation is automatic. The whole creation is just for those who don't want to have that relationship with him. He's so kind, they say, you don't want that here, then you have this. You see. So he has no reason to be attached to any of it. I hope that answers your question. That's a very good question. Any other thoughts, reflections, questions?
I was thinking about here the role of Narad Muni when he's telling Kamsa so that don't leave. He's such a he's a pure devotee. He's one of the Maharajas. So I was thinking that why there is obviously a backstory behind it about those who were killed by Kamsa. But there could have been a more compassionate way, where like thinking of a pure devotee in this day and age, if he's being or like he's being an instrument of Krishna to do something which is not accepted in our social rules and regulations or laws, then that's like it sets such a bad example. But in the case of in this case, Narad Muni is just go ahead and kill, don't spare anyone.
Yes. Krishna engages devotees in ways that may not conform with ordinary social mores. It's Bhaktivinoda Thakur who writes that if I see Lord Nityananda going into a bar, I know he's going there for preaching. So for Narada to do this is indeed, it's shocking. And yet it accomplished the purpose precisely. It accelerated the birth of these children. Because Devaki and Vasudeva were very anxious to have children as fast as possible, you see. Whereas if they had been free, they would have relaxed, raised one son, have the next son some years later, right? It would have been stretched out. So as brutal as it was, it did serve its purpose. And, devotees are sometimes engaged in, you could say, almost antisocial ways or immoral ways. Madhavendra Puri, the great devotee and predecessor of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wrote that all of the Vedic rituals, all of the ordinary moral behaviors, it was nice knowing you, but now I'm just going to serve Krishna. I think that will be enough for me, he said. So Narada's intervention was important to accelerate. It was done out of Krishna's order or Krishna's desire for him. In the Gita, for example, the Lord says that one should not disrupt the minds of the materialists, right, who are attached to fruitive work. One should not disrupt their minds. Na buddhi beta jana yet. But in the purport, Prabhupada says that the devotees go ahead and do that anyway, because they are more kind than the Lord. The Lord is neutral. You don't want to have anything to do with me, then that is your choice. But the devotees will intervene. No, you should connect with Krishna. You should serve Krishna. You'll be happy if you serve Krishna. Like this. So, even against the Lord's order, for the Lord's service, the devotee will do things that people may not appreciate. We were in the LAX the other day, and I was remembering from the 70s how they used to sell thousands and thousands of books there at the airport. And it was not very popular. But the devotees would, out of their dedication, would go and sell books. And there was even a cartoon in a newspaper or magazine about the devotees. So there's a picture of a man walking in the airport with his bag, and then there's a devotee with his books, and then there's a cloud of dust with fists sticking out here and there, and then the man is there with a book in his throat, and the devotee is walking away. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It was not very popular, and yet that intervention, which is something that no one really planned or expected to do with their lives, it instilled faith and inspired so many people to become devotees. Getting those books and reading them, all of a sudden their lives were transformed. So, the devotee is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities. What we do may appear moral or immoral or be acceptable or not acceptable. Many people think, oh, you're being a devotee means you're just frustrated and you're wasting your life. You couldn't make it in the material world, so you chant Hare Krishna. And this is what many of us grew up with as we took up Krishna consciousness in our youthful years. Our families just thought we were completely wasting our time or brainwashed or whatever. And sometimes Krishna puts his devotees in those positions where they must do things that are apparently immoral or out of the ordinary. But that only enhances the glories of the devotee. It is shocking about Narada, but then this is why. There was a reason for it. Very nice question. Thank you. So we'll stop there.
I have a question.
Yes, your good name?
Thank you, Maharaj, for the very beautiful lecture. My question is, what was the destination of the children? They were killed by Kamsa.
Yes.
The previous birth, they were cursed by, that they were killed by their own father. So called name became Kamsa. So what happened after that destination?
After Kamsa was killed. And then he learned from Sandipani Muni, and then asked Sandipani Muni, what would you like for Dakshin? And Sandipani Muni said, my son died, could you bring my son back to me? So Krishna and Balaram did that. So later Devaki was wondering, could you please do the same for me? And so he also returned those 6 dead sons of Devaki in their infant forms.
Where were they?
Pardon me?
Were they also in Yamdo?
Yes, this is a later chapter, rescuing the sons of Devaki. It's towards the end of the 10th canto. But that, in short, was what happened. I believe they were with Yamaraj, yeah. Trying to remember exactly when Krishna did that. Do you recall? I'm going to take a quick look and see if I can find it. In any case, yeah, that was, in short though, that's what happened. He rescued the sons of Devaki. Okay, I could read a bit if you like. Just anyway, maybe we don't have time. This all took place when they were meeting in Kurukshetra. That was it, the time of the Rath Yatra. So Devaki was meeting with Krishna and Balaram, and she said, "O Krishna, Rama, masters of all mystics, lords of all, as I see you before me, I cannot help but recall the fact that as your mother, it appears I gave you birth when you in truth descend yourselves to liberate the earth. A fraction of yourself is all it takes to build, maintain, and end the planet, stars, and outer space. Because success escorts whatever you decide to do, today, my lords, please contemplate what I now ask of you. When all your childhood studies at the Gurukul were done, I learned that you both rescued Sandipani Muni's son directly from the realm of death. You surely know the fact that I lost my 6 sons to Kamsa. Could you bring them back?" So they went to Yamaraja's abode, and they met with Bali Maharaj, who had taken over Indra's throne, and then gave it all to Krishna, and therefore he had taken this position in the netherworlds. And when Bali saw Krishna and Balaram, he welcomed them, he seated them, and then he said, "I'm very happy to see you. What could I do for you?" And Krishna says, "Marichi, a great sage, once had 6 sons who laughed at Lord Brahma because of something he had done. They thus took birth as children of Hiranyakashipu and then as sons of Devaki, and now they live with you." So as monarch of the lower planets, Bali easily located and returned the 6 young sons of Devaki. When she saw her lost children, Devaki became possessed with such maternal love that milk cascaded from her breasts. She let the babies drink that milk, which Krishna once enjoyed. Then tenderly she sniffed the head of each beloved boy. Entranced by Krishna's powers of illusion, Devaki saw each young baby reassume its past identity. The 6 became the gods they'd been before they misbehaved and bowed before Lord Krishna, Devaki, and Vasudeva. So that was the story. Okay, yes, that's just in one of the very last of the 90 chapters of the 10th canto. All right. Yes, Prabhuji.
So generally, one create towards Krishna, or hate and create against God, or materialistic attraction. Is it because of the free will or because of the karma?
It's a free will. We always have the option to love or to hate God, to want to be with God or to ignore God. And He reciprocates very neutrally with our desire. If we want to ignore Him, He wants to ignore us. If we don't want to be bothered by Him, He doesn't want to be bothered with us. But if we say, "God, please help me," if we pay attention to Him, then He pays attention to us. That's all. So when we're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we are petitioning Him, "I do want to reconnect with you. I no longer want to live in this divided condition where I don't have you in my life." So then He reciprocates.
Sorry, one more question. How do you connect all these things with the lamentation?
Lamentation is one of the coverings in the material world. Fear of death, a bodily concept of life, a few others. These were the coverings that Lord Brahma creates when we enter this world. So again, the lamentation is related to attachment. Yes, and we are attached to something, we lose it, and we lament. Just turn on the radio. "I lost my baby. You know, it's either the songs are lamenting about a lost love or celebrating a found love. It's one or the other.
How do you get rid of the lamentation generally?
To get rid of lamentation, yeah, then we have to be able to appreciate the moment. Yeah, lamentation is the mode of ignorance. Our face is turned towards the past. Something that has happened that we can't change is history, but we're lamenting it. That's the mode of ignorance. The mode of passion makes us look to the future. What am I going to do? How am I going to live? What am I going to accomplish? But the mode of goodness is in the present moment. Okay, here's what's in front of me. Here's this day. It is a gift from God. Let me make the most of it. Okay? The mode of goodness is the gateway to spiritual growth. If we don't come to the mode of goodness, then we cannot progress spiritually. So chanting is particularly helpful to shed the influence of passion and ignorance.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Rukmini Dwarkadish Ki Jai. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Thank you.